Live tonight from the Lone Star State of Texas, it's iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on Race Spot TV for NASCAR Camping World Truck Series action from the Great American Speedway. It all comes to you next right here on Race Spot TV and iRacing Live. Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on Race Spot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live, Advanced Choice TV for NASCAR iRacing Class C action and the Camping World Trucks from the Texas Motor Speedway. 84 laps at 126 miles. A little bit of Tuesday night racing coming to you next. And we're happy that you're joining us right here on Race Spot TV for this installment of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night. Topside with you, as always, joining myself, Evan Pasoka, with it. Topside with Randy Cheneth. Andy Kessler going to be joining us in just a little bit here. And as always, our Race Spot TV director, Hugo Louise, pushing the buttons and getting us to you. Just about 2 minutes left, Randy, left in this qualifying session. And we're going to go at it truck action here at Texas. And for many of these drivers, if not, I'd say the better part of the field, brand new sim coming out of this one, because it was a big build release today on the iRacing service, and these guys are kind of going to it a little bit blind. Not that many major changes on the trucks, but it is going to be a little bit interesting to see how they navigated around here at Texas for 84 laps.
Oh yeah, I mean, even just minor changes can, completely negate any setups you had, and a lot of these guys probably back to square one, but hey, look at this, it's already looking pretty competitive. Top three separated by 0.07 of a second.
Qualifying session going to be consisting of two individual one-at-a-time laps for the trucks. You're going to get 2 laps out on the racetrack, and your best lap is going to count for the time. That's going to put you on the #1 spot. Again, this is iRacing Class C Truck Series action, and we are tuning in for the top split of competition, so the drivers do have the opportunity to qualify before they do take the green flag at each individual event. And you see on the left side of your screen the current standings in the qualifying session. Have Kirk Hapke at the top of the pile right now with 19 of, it looks like the better end of 26 trucks that are being sent to take the green flag in this one. Let's talk a little bit about the Texas Motor Speedway. Not a very strange track to come across on the sim. A very popular 1.5 intermediate racetrack, banking at 24 degrees. So by the numbers, it also has a quad oval on the front straightaway. The schematics and the numbers are going to tell you that it is very similar to a Charlotte Motor Speedway. It doesn't drive, I should say, much like that track though at all. Very different characteristics here.
Yeah, it's definitely very different from Charlotte, but I have a feeling everyone on the iRacing service has turned laps at Texas at this point. So very, very familiar circuit to all these guys, and that's generally leads to very close racing and some pretty clean racing as well.
The qualifying session and preceded by a little bit of a warm-up session already. Tonight has drawn to a close. The qualifying grid is set for tonight's contest in the Lone Star State. So we'll take a look trackside at your Race Spot TV starting grid. It was a 28.670 for the driver of the number 5 machine, and that's Kirk Hapke. His time good enough to be able to hang on it, and he'll start from pole position tonight, joined by Ryan Keys to the outside, our own number 1, the number 2 truck, going to start in the number 2 position. Michael Atkins Jr., he'll go to the inside, our own number 2 roll from 3rd position, and Danny McCune Jr. outside, going to qualify for this one in P4, and Martin Porter, good effort for the driver of the number 8 Toyota. He'll round out your top 5 in qualifying.
Matt Malvik's going to be rolling away in that 6th position right next to Martin Porter. He's going to be looking to get himself moved up. Rolling off in 7th place, we have Brandon H. Thomas. 8th is Mike Miller. 9th is Chadwick Smith. And rounding out your top 10, Brandon Griffiths.
Just behind there, and to kick off the starting lineup outside of the top 10, inside our own number 5 goes to the fastest truck in practice, but 11th when it comes to qualifying speed. You'll find the 11, Shane Good, back on row number 6. 12th position going to go to Kenneth Santiago. 13th position going to go to Jesse Weiju, and alongside him he'll be joined by Jeffrey Shrad back in 14th. 15th position tonight goes to Matthew Bitcoffer.
Pulling off in 16th, we have Matthew Romagano. 17th, Ryan A. Hill. 18th, Braden Graham. 19th, Matthew Egan. And we got a bunch of non-qualifiers here today, Evan. Phil Gary, Brett Pancari, Madison Casey, Christopher Gormont, Ryan S. Oates, Clinton Sharp, Gordon Monroe, and Gary Champion. None of them put in qualifying times.
That's a look at your Race Spot TV starting grid. So 19 of the 27 trucks on track take a time at a qualifying session, and it does look like if not all, at least a majority of the field is going to be able to make it to the green flag. It looks like Christopher Gormont is going to elect to start from pit road in the number 23 position, so it will slide all of the trucks behind him that would have started on that outside lane of the racetrack and to slide them up a row. And it's going to put everybody back in a different position for the back of the grid. But for the most part, everybody on the grid, and now they roll behind the American Childhood Cancer Organization Ford Mustang GT Pace Car. And we are set to do 84 laps of competition tonight at the Texas Motor Speedway, about an average length for these trucks. And again, most of these intermediate tracks, you can see these trucks go right on the limit between keeping that gas pushed down all the way around this place and just having to lift a little bit coming out, especially on the longer end of the green flag stretches. So we talked about small changes on this brand new build, Randy. I think that because they're always so on the limit at this kind of a racetrack, those first 1 or 2 laps, especially when they throw it down to turn 1 for the first time, 2 wide, 10 or so rows deep, there's going to be a lot of unknowns when we drop the green flag on this one.
Evan, you're absolutely right. And if I were one of these guys in these trucks, in the early stage of this race, not really sure what I or everyone else really has with the new build, only a few hours old at this point, I think I just try to stay safe, and I just wait maybe until 15 or 20 laps in to really start pushing hard.
The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn, down and away. The pace car is free, and green flag in the air for Kirk Hapke. He'll take it on the outside, swing it up to the top side of the racetrack already. A great jump for your pole sitter down to turn number 1, and an equally as good of a jump for Michael Atkins Jr. He'll go right from P3 to P2, and also coming through, Danny McCune Jr. Not a good start for Ryan Keys. He'll try to make it back up, looking to the inside. At a turn number 3, you'll have to wait, battle for second for a moment. 7 thought about it, backs off, and the 5 truck in the lead lap number 1.
Yeah, like you said about Ryan Keys, they're not a good start there at all, and everyone pretty much scrambled for that inside line. Well, he got hung out to dry up on the outside. He got shuffled down from 2nd place down to 4th, trying to get that back. And actually, just behind him, we have Martin Porter in that Tundra just behind, looking on the outside, trying to get a run here. He does get a run to going down this back straight. Martin Porter gonna look up to the inside.
And he's going to get squeezed down. It's almost the exact same move he put on McCune the lap before, the 7 peak to the inside. Again, he really didn't get the spot there, so you'll have to stop short of calling it a block, but he definitely chopped them off a little bit. And now problems behind your leaders, just as the top 3 got single filed out, right across the start-finish line. 1 truck around, and it is the number 1 Chevrolet of Ryan Hill. Wrong way around on the front straightaway. Early caution flag at lap number 2.
And that was kind of your just typical kind of Texas incident going. Actually, it wasn't even coming off the corner. It was going through the quad oval. He just got tagged and just got spun around. Kind of a weird little incident there.
And you see on that replay, the 18 tried to sneak up the middle, got hit in the right rear, and there was really nothing for the number 1 machine to do. And an unfortunate accident to have here early, and we're talking about things that are new to the iRacing service as of today. How about that brand new 2016 Chevrolet Silverado body? Unfortunately, the number 1, his truck not looking as good as it did on the grid. Not a lot of damage, though. Locked it up, spun it out down there on the apron, and Ryan Hill's going to look to get that machine fixed back up if he can, and to get right back into this race. I mentioned that 84 laps is not an entirely huge amount of laps here at the Texas Motor Speedway. You are going for 126 miles start to finish, but it's kind of right in that sweet spot where it's not too long and you're not really dragging things out. But if you have a mistake, especially early, 2 laps in, you don't want to see a caution out already. But for the guys involved in it, they do have ample time now to get back into it. A race of this length allows them to get another shot at it. Your leader's thinking about some pit service. Hapke going to stay out. Atkins will come down from 2nd, and it looks like he's one of the only drivers in from the top 5. Brandon Thomas in from 7th. Chadwick Smith in from 9th. About a 50-50 split for service at lap number 4.
Yeah, about our top 10 or so all deciding to stay out here, so this is going to be actually really interesting to see about half the field coming in, half the field coming out. And really, like you were saying, this race distance, it's just short enough to where it doesn't feel very long, but it's also just long enough that strategy can play a major part in some of these decisions and what these guys decide to do. So, always a very good kind of median to have in terms of race length.
The leaders up at the front of the field, they will pace behind the pace car. Pit road was open that time by for your leaders. No lap cars to technically have an opportunity to pit under this one. The number 15, actually, of Christopher Gaumont, he is 1 lap down. The number 15, I had noted, was scheduled to start in 23rd position. Randy elected to start from the pit box. And we talked about the uncertainty on the start of this race, so you could understand the strategical advantages in making that move. On the flip side of that, because they didn't wreck down to turns 1 and 2, but the little bit of a time penalty that he had to serve in his stall had come to a close. He had to pace out for the box, which, to be fair, was 23rd away from the exit of pit road. He lost a lap. He wasn't even out on the back straightaway by the time the field had come around, completed lap number 1. So he went down a lap early. He's able to get that lap back under this early caution flag, and he'll come down for his service this time. But he did qualify 23rd. He is going to be at the back in 26th for the restart.
Yeah, it kind of backfired on him there, especially now. He's going to be at the very, very end of this longest line here for this restart, and that's really the last place you want to be. The fact that he rolled off from pit lane tells me he doesn't have the greatest faith in those around him to really be clean, but now, unfortunately for him, all the wrecks will be happening in front of him, and he's going to have to try to find a way to drive through it.
Lights remain on the pace car. We look for them to go out this next time around. Couple of big movers to note. How about Phil Gary, the number 9 Chevrolet, started back in 20th spot, and he's in 9th, so he picks up 11 positions. Again, not all of that for the racetrack. I have to think that at least 5 or so trucks that were running in front of him came down pit road. We did mention a couple of people had come down before. Really, I think the better part of the field at the back all decided to pit, names included in that Michael Atkins Jr., Brandon Thomas, Chadwick Smith and company. But even if it is from a little bit of strategy, making your way halfway to the front, just 6 laps out of 84, a pretty good deal.
Oh yeah, track position is always greatly important here, and even though the guys down towards the deeper end of the field, obviously they pit, they're going to have that new rubber. Those tires are only about 2 to 3 laps old, so it's not going to be too huge of a difference here. That'll even out pretty quickly in the run. I think getting that track position for those like Phil Gary and even Clinton Sharp, who moved himself up about 9 spots, that's going to be hugely beneficial for those guys.
They're going to double up down to turns number 1 and 2. The lights around the Texas Motor Speedway have been extinguished, and we're going to get our first opportunity to take a look at American Ethanol restart on the evening. Hapke to the bottom, exactly where he chose to start at the beginning of this one, and Denny McCune Jr., who was actually outside row 2, and that's a conventionally bad spot to find yourself in for the restart. He was able to follow up your third place starter on the drop of the green flag, Michael Atkins Jr., who is come down pit road under the yellow back at 11 spot. He followed him up on the inside and made that move, and was looking at a move for the race lead by the time the caution fell. So the 5, the 7, they're going to be on row number 1. Ryan Keese in 3rd, and Matt Moldzik in number 4 position, with Martin Porter inside of the top 5. For the first time, we'll take a restart on the evening. Lap number 7, the pace car going to dive down to the safety of pit road. No hesitation from pole sitter Kirk Hapke. Green flag back in the areas away by 2 track lengths.
Danny McCune did a very good job there to actually get himself down the inside between the first place runner of Hapke and the third place runner of Ryan Keith. On that start, of course, we saw Keith actually get shuffled, kind of forced up out of line on that outside, and he got shuffled back down the order. Side by side down the back straightaway, though, for fourth. Matt Molden getting chased down and passed by Martin Porter.
Yeah, Porter in a good position. He rides that white line. He really on the inside of 3 and 4, tries to be able to hook that truck around the corner, and they haven't lifted off the gas since the green flag. They go back down to turn number 1, single file, 1 through 5, but bumper-to-bumper traffic throughout it all. Behind, battle for P6. Griffith's going to go high gear to the inside.
Yeah, Griffiths pushed pretty hard coming up off a 2 there, almost got that wall. He's going to get shuffled back to 2 or 3 spots at least, maybe go 3 wide through 3 and 4. No, not just quite. He's going to actually carry that momentum to 3 and 4, be able to hold off that 11.
Griffiths is able to minimize the damage, if you will. Shane Good behind now. The 11 car trying to get a move on the inside of the racetrack. The 17 going to go to his top side. That's Chadwick Smith. Big run at a turn 2, and he might put it up the middle. He will. 3 wide, back of the pack in a battle for the number 9 position, and the 17 trying to get all the way up to 8th. He's loose on the outside. He'll come down, and big contact coming off of turn number 4. Caution flag will wave.
Yeah, that was a pretty brave move there, forcing it 3 wide here in the early runnings of this race. You know, that was just lap 10 where he tried to force that. Maybe a little silly, but then again, always good to see some excitement, and I think he's wanting to race his way to the front. But unfortunately, just didn't work out for him, and really several other people as well.
And that is a lot of beat-up trucks. You're taking a look at the Race Spot TV replay right there. It was a beautiful move by the 17, and he went in there, I think, full on the gas, because that truck, it just got a little bit sideways, and eventually ran out of room. I will say a spectacular job from behind by Brandon Griffiths for moving up and trying to give the 17 some room. And while many of the trucks behind them were not as fortunate, the 25 gets out of that with no damage. He could have easily ended up shoved up against the outside fence if he had continued to run the line that he was in all the way to the exit of 4.
Yeah, someone else that actually should get rewarded for having a good bit of foresight is that 11 truck, that was actually the inside truck of that 3 wide scenario. Going into turn 3, he saw what was probably going to happen, completely backed out of it, and look what happened when the 17 got around. The 11 was able to just roll on by, and he got himself a couple free spots and some people that were pressuring him pretty good, now out of the race.
And many more drivers down pit road this time under the caution flag. The majority at the back are going to be coming down for repairs. But do we see green flag pit stops for your leaders? McCune going to stay out from P2, but Hapke, Keys, Porter, and most everybody else are going to be coming down. This is going to be their first service of the evening.
Yeah, this is going to be a little unfortunate here for Danny McCune Jr. I think he's expecting a little bit more of the field to stay out, but everyone else is deciding to come down pit road. I'm not sure if they're hitting a fuel number or something to be able to make it. But he's, even though these tires really aren't that beat up just yet in the early stages of this race, he's going to have the whole field with the exception of Braden Graham behind him on brand new rubber. That's not going to bode well for Danny McCune Jr. once this restart goes green.
Race off of the pit lane going to be anticlimactic. 4 tires to the fuel for your pole sitter, and with the benefit of the number 1 pit stall, nobody else had much of a chance, and Kirk Hapke going to win the race off of the pit lane. The only other driver getting to stay out was that 7 of Danny McCune Jr., so he'll go to the point. They don't expect him to come down and pit this time around because it would put him much worse off than if he had just decided to pit with everybody else. We will find out. What I was interested in is we did see a couple of guys come down very early, and I know that it would have put him at a pretty big tire disadvantage because, well, that wasn't that long of a green flag stretch, Randy. It was 5 or so laps on the tires. I'm surprised that a couple of people that pitted on that first caution flag and for first cycle the caution flag pit stops didn't try to stay out that time and get some track position back.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, in these sorts of races, a lot of times track position is really what remains key, especially if this race keeps bringing out a lot of yellow flags like this. You know, yeah, you might be up near the front on relatively old rubber, but if you only run 2 to 3 laps, that's not a lot of time to get yourself shuffled down the field. So I really think at this point, if this race continues staying yellow flag running, I'd say staying out is generally going to be the better call.
We're going to find out. We'll do it all over again. Going to be 14 laps to the books and still 70 laps to go for the Texas Motor Speedway. The lights off on top of the pace car, and we're going to go back at it for the second time off of the caution flag, still with 21 of the 26 trucks that's going to be that actually ended up taking the green flag in tonight's contest. Brett Pucari is a DNS after qualifying in 21st.
Yeah, they're rolling through 3 and 4 now, and this is going to be an interesting restart here. We've seen in all these restarts is a scramble to get to the bottom, and really it's all on that outside row, specifically that outside pulsator to get themselves to the inside quickly. It's going to be interesting to see if that 5 truck of Kirk Hapke can work that and get himself down to the inside quick.
Pace car going to duck low once again. What does the 7 do? As he's in control, he'll also go right at the drop of the hammer. Green flag back in the air from the Texas Motor Speedway. And again, the outside of the front row is able to slot into P2. Good restart by Hapke to get in line. He's the first truck on fresh tires, but he's got plenty of pushing from behind. Keys is all over the back bumper. So is Porter on the 2. Three-way battle for second behind your leader.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that Ryan Keys hasn't been a little bit more aggressive on this restart. We saw him, he was the second place qualifier. We saw in the start of the race, he got shuffled up to the outside in the early runnings and lost himself a couple positions. Here, I think he had a fantastic chance to get Kirk Hapke behind him, and really he just didn't take advantage of it. Now he's stuck running in 3rd place.
Single file line for the 5, the 2, and the 8. They try to see if those tires were worth coming down pit road for, and maybe the great equalizer in all of this is the 7 has got clean air. He was able to get out in front early. He can run his line, which a lot of guys haven't been able to do. Have been battling just like we see right now for 3rd. The 2 truck, he'll slot a little bit too high out of turn 4, and that inside is wide open through the quad oval and hard drive into turn 1 for Martin Porter. He'll stick it down on the white line, get back to the gas. A drag race coming off of turn number 2, outside with the advantage of the 24 degrees of banking to get the run down the corner and pull 3/4 of a truck to turn 3.
This is a side-by-side racing that people love to see in this sort of oval motorsport, and Ryan Keith's doing a very good job maintaining this momentum up on the outside line. Actually, we got battling up front for the lead. Kirk Hapke looking to the inside. Let's see if he's able to get that done. He's got a good run going through 1 and 2. The 7 truck of Danny McCune Jr., obviously on those old tires, not going to be able to maintain momentum up through the outside.
2 wide and 2 rows deep in the 18. Gonna try to go to the inside. Ryan Oats thought about coming to the inside on the 8. The 9 truck checked up for him. He went back up to the middle lane, almost like he wanted to shoot right into the middle lane of the racetrack, and ends up with nothing. And the 2 machine of Ryan Keys, he'll stay in front of the 8. The 18 still behind in 4th. And on to Phil Gary back now and scored in what is going to be actually P6, as it's going to be the 2 truck battle for the race lead before we get any further. The 7 closing the gap in. That was at about 3 or 4/10 of a second. The 5 truck still running good, but the 7 keeping him honest. And now even with that, now that the battle for 3rd is done for, Ryan Keys starting to close in. So the gap from Kirk Hapke back to the guys inside of the top 5 continues to shrink, now 20 laps in.
Yeah, unfortunately for Danny McCune here, they really stopped scrapping for that 3rd position back there. They all just got single file, and they're all just turning fast laps. Actually, right now, Ryan Oats in that 18 car again looking to the inside of Ryan Keys. He's actually going to get this move done. Ryan Keys going to get shuffled back to fourth position for the 2nd time tonight. Ryan Oats has a big run, and Danny McCune wants to see people fighting like this. He's obviously out there on that old rubber. Getting shuffled back would be absolutely disastrous for him, as actually he pulls up right to the back of Kirk Hapke, through 1 and 2.
And right on each other, and a little bit of a nudge coming off of the turn. And McCune gets a little bit out of shape when they came down the back straightaway. He's a little bit slow coming off of the corner. Big run for the 18. The Tracker Oats machine to the inside. Side by side for the number 2 spot at the line. Going to be close, and it's an exact tie. Both drivers 0.207 seconds behind the race leader, but once they get down to turn number 1, not much hope for the 7. He's really tight in turn 2. He'll drop all the way back to 4th as Key's going to take 3rd, and now Porter going to take 4th away. All of that well behind a battle for the race lead as Ryan Oats from 24th on the qualifying grid tries to get a shot at the clean air.
I was actually just about to mention that, coming up 22 positions throughout this race, and now looking at on Kirk Hapke, wants to try to get to him. He's on the back of Kirk Hapke right now, and he might just get himself a run coming off of turn number 2 up on the outside. He actually knows that the lapper there holds him up. That was a bit of a just bad racecraft there from Ryan. Got himself hung up behind that lapper of Jeffrey Shred.
That truck going to stay well up and out of the way, and for the most part try to be a non-factor, but again, the 5 timed that beautifully. He used the 4 as a pick. He elected to stay on the inside and make the move, and I think Oats thought that maybe that truck would have got low for him, so he stayed in line knowing that he wouldn't have cleared him, and it cost him an entire half of a second in that time in turn 2. He'll just brush up against the last little bit of that safer barrier down the back straightaway. I don't think it's going to be enough damage to really slow him down long-term wise. But you do see a little bit of cosmetic damage. Track's going to be blocked in front. Kirk Hapke gets caught up with the lap truck, and just like that, now it's the 18's turn to get the benefit, and the 5 truck going to lose the race lead.
Yeah, we see Ryan Oats out here with damage after taking advantage of that lapper that Kirk Hapke got blocked behind. And actually our one-time leader, Danny McCune Jr., he caught the wall coming up off of 4. He's got all sorts of damage on the right front of that thing. Car's crabbing, and it's just, very, very loose. I think he's going to have to come down pit road this time by.
Just like that, we were talking about how it was a well-executed move by Kirk Hapke to keep Oats behind him, and Oats really just reaped the benefit of that. He was, again, 0.5 of a second behind it all, but now he's out in front by Clean Air by the same distance. Ryan Keese is behind now. He's going to be the next driver to take a shot at the race lead, running P2 4/10 back. Martin Porter going to be all over him, and that could be a battle for position out of 4. The 2 recognizes the run and kind of moves down half a lane to protect the inside. They'll stay single file for the moment, and then behind them is where you'll finally find Kirk Hapke minus the Clean Air. He's fallen to 0.8 back.
And Ryan Oats actually gets very tight off a 2, and here comes the 2.
Again.
Here comes the 8. Here comes Kirk Hapke as well. Here comes just about everyone down this back straightaway. He's getting shuffled to the back of this train.
So he had some issues in turn number 2. They're going to run out of room as Ryan Keese is in trouble. Contact with the number 5 of Kirk Hapke. They'll slide down through the grass, almost able to hang on. Spinning in turn number 1. Both of those trucks going to stay on the apron and off of the racing surface, and no caution, but this race is just blown wide open in the last 5 laps. It was in front of the field and wide open for Ryan Oats. He makes a mistake in turn number 2, gives the race lead over the Ryan Keese. Keese blows it in turns 3 and 4 on his own. The 5, the 2 get into each other. There's no caution, and somehow Martin Porter leads this race now 29 laps in.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything just kicking off here at Texas Motor Speedway, and that incident I think was just a little bit silly there on the likes of Kirk Hapke and as well as actually Ryan Oats. They saw Ryan Keese get really, really tight through 3 and 4. Neither of them wanted to be patient, get out of the gas, and unfortunately for them, saw them just spin out. It's actually got a battle right now between the 6 and the 11.
And this is a battle going on. Again, Brandon Thomas was 4th, just lost that position to Shane Good on the outside of the racetrack, but he's not going to give it up. He'll battle back hard on the inside, and the outside loses it again. So early in the run, we were seeing the drivers again. It's not a progressively banked racetrack. There's 24 degrees at the bottom and 24 on the outside. But what I say the guys topside using that banking to their advantage is they're coming down almost a 2-story drop. They can really wind it up. Well, early in the run, the outside was the place to be. These last couple of laps, it looks like the trucks are either too loose or too tight to do that, and now the inside is being the place to be.
Yeah, the outside just not where you want to be, whatever. And even though you can fight back on the outside, but I wouldn't necessarily call that outside line the place to be. If you can get it thrown down into the inside, good with a good run, you can really make some moves happen there. Right now, Martin Porter dealing with some lap traffic. That truck just going on the high side, and actually now a second place runner getting through it as well. But in the early stages of the run, like you said, we're seeing some great side-by-side action, some great side-by-side racing, but the moment these tires start dying off, we have a yellow somewhere on the racetrack. Not sure what happened. Oh, it's Danny McCune Jr.
Flying to finally bring to a close what has been a wild stint. It's problems for the number 7 Toyota of Danny McCune Jr. And under the yellow, he'll spin it out again. Got some flat-spotted tires that he's going to have to use to navigate back down to the pit lane. And this one goes, looked like unassisted. He got a little bit loose into turn number 3, got sideways on the apron, and I had thought that the 4 maybe got into him when I first kind of glanced at them spinning at a turn 4. But indeed, that 4 of Jeffrey Schrad, no contact, got on the brakes, stayed off of him, and just a loose number 7, Rashida McCune, was too much to hold on to.
Yeah, McCune, we saw him earlier in that run. He tagged the wall and did some damage to that truck on the underside. And we knew that truck was loose, and coming off of 4 that time, it just started to go step out on him and couldn't get it back. Unfortunate for Danny McCune Jr. here. He made a very, very, what I think was a very smart strategy move, staying out on that last caution, and it just, unfortunately, just kind of backfired on him.
So with that, I think us and the drivers alike take an opportunity to exhale and try to figure out what just happened. Out of nowhere, we only have 4 drivers that started inside of the top 10. Inside the top 10 at the moment. It really broke loose there for about a 5-lap period of time. But caution flying back out, and I think it's going to be a much more uniform decision at pit stops at action this time.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right here. I think just about everyone's going to be coming down pit road. That run was just long. I mean, that run was obviously long enough that needing new rubber is going to be very, very important at this stage.
So they're going to go down to the end of pit road. At least your race leader at the time going to go to pit stall number 5. That's Martin Porter. Right side tires going to go up for him and many of the other drivers as well. And left side tires going to go up as well. So it is going to be a 4-tire stop and a go. A couple of guys at the back of the pack still now just coming into pit road. No problems though. The 8 machine easily going to lead us off pit road.
Yeah, some guys I think that are going to be really, really happy about this pit stop, the likes of Kirk Hapke and Ryan Keese. Obviously, we saw them get caught up in that incident. Both of the trucks with a little bit of damage, and most importantly, lost themselves a lot of time. This comes back into play early enough. They should be able to get these trucks repaired, and they'll be at the tail end of the field. But most importantly, they'll be on the lead lap, and they'll be able to work their way through efficiently.
Porter going to come off of the pit lane, followed by Atkins. How about Shane Good? He picks up 3 spots on pit road, and the 18 of Ryan Oats came in for service, and he sat in that stall for a long time, and I'm not quite sure what happened. He overshot the stall, took 4 tires, and then actually backed the truck back up again, took 4 more tires. But I did notice that while all of that was going on, they were getting some of the cosmetic damage on that number 18 Chevrolet fixed. But regardless, whatever happened down there, pit sign going to cost him plenty of time.
Yeah, very weird. Almost like maybe he decided to keep the damage, and then right as he started rolling through the box, he just second-guessed himself. Figured it'd be better to get that damage repaired, and basically, unfortunately for him, instead of just repairing the damage, he did a whole pit stop cycle, which cost him just a little bit more time. Obviously going to be probably at the back of the field here after that, and he's someone, I mean, obviously he started 24th, and he was leading at one point. I would not be surprised if he can work his way back through this field.
So they're all going to find themselves in a little bit of a different running order, at least back outside of the top 2. The front row going to remain the same. Some shuffling begins from 3rd position on back. A couple of wave-bys stay out in front of your race leaders and looking to get the wave-by back around the field. Both Gary Champion scored an 18th and a 23rd position right now for the number 16 of Mike Miller. Miller goes from 17 to 16 laps down, and Gary Champion actually in a much better position because he will go from 1 lap down, stay out, get in front of the leaders, take the wave by, and he will now be scored as the last truck on the lead lap. Not in a spot to really be able to do much with that quite yet. He did start back 27th on the grid, and he'll take the wave by this time, but he's back in the lead lap, so you can guarantee the next caution he'll be back in for tires, and hopefully he'll be able to do something with it. Still shy of the halfway point in Texas, plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm actually curious if this caution doesn't come out at like a fuel window right now, because right now we have the Matt Mulvick, who's in the 22. He's running 6th place at the start of this last lap. He just came down pit road, just filled up with a little bit more fuel, and now he's rolling off again. I'm almost, kind of very interesting. That truck doesn't have any damage on it visually. Very, very interesting strategy decision.
Yeah, so whatever the circumstances are, he is going to be, again, significantly deeper in the pack. And sometimes, damage can be a little bit deceiving. You can have a truck that really looks like it's meatballed, and it'll be, not obviously at 100%, but it won't be that bad. And another times, you just hit it in a strange angle, you knock the toe out, you get some wheel damage or something on that truck, and it's just going to plow. So, regardless of the circumstances, we're going to put 36 laps behind us, take the restart, and for this time around, it's going to be the number 8 Martin Porter in control. He'll go right as the pace car ducks down, green flag waves, and back it away.
Michael Atkins Jr. again, we see it again, that outside pole sitter getting themselves down the inside line very quick, very early. I'm really surprised here why these guys rolling off in 3rd position. They're not being overly aggressive on these restarts. They could really pick up a spot, maybe even put that guy that started in 2nd place 2, 3, 4 trucks behind him, and they're just not taking advantage of it.
And it is another case where, 2nd, 3rd, 4th don't fight amongst themselves for that long. They do get single filed out, and they're going to try to chase down Porter in front. Your leaders have been consistently being able to get great jumps coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, really have, and it's single file up at the front, some side-by-side racing in the back, though. Matthew Bidicoffer, and actually the truck of Brandon Griffith, just gets stuck up on the outside, loses 3 positions throughout the stretch of turns 1 and 2, gets passed by Kenneth Santiago, Ryan Oates, and Matthew. And Matthew, actually, same thing happens to him, gets stuck up on that outside. Ryan S. Oates just drives around him.
Yeah, so no problems to get that job done, and he'll jump back down to the inside of the racetrack now and try to hit the next driver in line. He does have a little bit of a gap, so he can get up to Matt Egan, who has scored in 7th position, and real close, actually, that time coming out of turn 2. Michael Atkins Jr., the number 10, who's running in 2nd at the moment. He got really close in turn number 2. We've seen these guys have poor handling all over the place, but that seems like it's going to be Calamity Corner tonight. If you're not hitting it, you're getting pretty darn close to it.
Yeah, turn number 2 and actually turn number 4 as well, been very, very scary places. And we saw that one incident where we saw 2 trucks spin off of turn number 4, and it didn't bring a yellow out, and that's something these guys need to really be careful about for making a mistake. If you're going to spin, almost have to make sure you get into this. And right now we're watching the 11, and Shane Good under attack from that 9 going into turn 3 and 4.
The 9 trying to apply the pressure. He wants to step on the podium at the line inside, and Blaine going to have the upper hand. Phil Gary's got the position over short run, so can the outside still have the tires to wind it up and get back at him? No, but the 9 left side tires on the white line just a little bit, and you saw the bobble out of Phil Gary's Chevrolet, and it didn't allow him to get clear. So the 11, he's still there because of it. Down the outside to turn number 3, and this battle continues. 1.5 seconds behind your race leader, as it finally looks like the 19 might be trying to get away with this one. The gap not much bigger than it was the last time around. The 9 still sits about half a truck length good, but they are still door to door. And look at the 18, Ryan Oates with brand new tires coming flying through the field, and he'll make it look easy on both of them to the inside for 3rd.
He's going to be looking on the inside, going into 3 and 4, and it looks like he's going to get that job down, and really now is a role reversal. Now the 9's up on the outside of that 11. Let's see what the 11 can do with the inside line.
So the 18 making the battle between the 9 and the 11 look silly, and in fact, Phil Gary now, he's going to actually win that battle against the 11 of Shane Good. It was for 3rd. It's now going to be good enough for 4th position, and the 11 has to deal with the 6 top side of Brandon Thomas. Good run, and he'll get that spot. The 26 next in line, Matt Egan, going to jump all over him as well, so not a good restart for Good.
Yeah, very, definitely not good at all, and really he has Ryan Oates to thank for getting shuffled down the field right now. Ryan Oates came through them and just broke up their battle just a little bit, and it really, really affected the 11's momentum, and just because of that, we see him get shuffled down the order, whereas he was fighting and hanging up on that outside line really, really well. And
the 11 machine going to fight back a little bit. I thought Egan had him coming out of turn 2. crosses him back up, gets that spot back, and now he'll have a front row seat to a little bit of a fight in front of him. The 6th machine of Brandon Thomas, he's letting Phil Gary know he's there. He rode the bumper all the way through 3 and 4, and back to the inside, another side-by-side fight, this time for 4th.
That's going to be interesting to see when these tires start to die, and it looks like they might actually be starting right now as Phil Gary just surrenders that position to Brandon Thomas going into turn 1. Didn't even really fight with him that hard. He just basically lifted out of the gas, went down to the inside, and just got single file.
And now, for a brief moment, I think for the first time off of the restart, we've got no double file inside of the top 10. It's not going to last long. Look at the 3, almost in the grass. In fact, left side tires in the grass for Matthew Bittikoffer. The 26 tried to block off that preferred lane, and he had to use that second kink of the dog leg to get the positioning he wanted. He had a huge run of steam and knew that he didn't want it to go to waste, and despite all of that, it's still an advantage to the 26 of Egan on the outside of the racetrack. And that battle for position behind them, Kenneth Santiago to the apron and out of shape. He'll check up, and now the 25 stuck behind. The 5 of Kirk Hapke is back there also. Turn 4, another close call.
Yeah, that was some pretty heads-up driving there by Kirk Hapke. He had to get all over the brakes after that truck of Kenneth Santiago got loose through 3 and 4. Very well driven by him. I do think he might have gotten into the back of him, but he didn't tag him nearly as hard as he could have.
Just as the 5 gets a spot and all of that, he is going to lose one more to Ryan Keese. Keese, another one of the names that was having a fairly good run, got involved in a little bit of contact in one of the previous caution flags. And again, in fact, actually, he was in the accident where he didn't get the yellow. His truck spun down to the apron at turn number 1, didn't get the benefit of a caution flag, and it put him way behind the 8 ball. And they're still battling inside of the top 5, inside of the top 10, top to bottom of the 15 truck, still on the lead lap. But look at the top of them all. Martin Porter under attack by Michael Atkins Jr. It's a battle for the race lead, 49 laps in.
Yeah, these two, they have absolutely gapped that third-place truck of Brandon H. Thomas. 4-second gap that last time by. It's just them, and I think these guys, they should just be patient. They know they can't really get separated from one another, and there's no real point in being overly aggressive right here, making a move for the lead when we're just over halfway, really. I think they should just cruise and maybe, wait until about 10 to go to really start fighting, but the 10's going to look to the inside of the run into turn number 1.
He's got the nose to the inside, and once again, I thought lap traffic might have been a part of it, and it may have been for the 8 of Martin Porter, because the 17, Chadwick Smith, does exactly what he needed to do. He got all the way up against the fence and got out of the way, but I think Porter might have thought that he would have stayed in the middle of the track, and now the 10, he's got to drive up hard and say hello to the 27 machine of Jesse Uiju, who really on the preferred lane in the center returns 3 and 4, so the lap traffic drama continues for your race leaders tonight.
Yeah, there was actually a lot of faith there by by Michael Atkins Jr. expecting that 27 car of Jesse Uiji to get up out of that lane, because that car is actually Michael Atkins Jr. gets very, very loose off of 2. He has a bit of damage on the right side of the truck now, and that lead goes back to Martin Porter.
And again, it's turn 2. That seems to be the place where it doesn't matter if you're in a battle, and it doesn't matter if you're out in front. Somebody is bound to make a mistake in that turn. It's happened at least 3 times, I think. We've seen a race leader have problems in turn number 2 and actually give up the race lead because of it. So maybe Martin Porter feels all is right in the world once again. He's back where he belongs. He's out in the number 1 spot, and now he wants Atkins to pass him straight up. Again, they had a lot of lap traffic when they got to each other, but the 10 doesn't have much momentum at the moment. The 8's actually pulling away. Atkins has got to get back to him.
Yeah, Atkins is probably a little nervous about that truck after that touch on the wall. He's probably not quite sure what he has, not quite sure if maybe something got bent, if the truck's going to be loose, the truck's going to be tight. He should just run a couple, better, lack of a better term, kind of safety laps here. Actually, he gets really lucky. Yellow comes out, not sure what's happened.
Coming inside of the final 30 laps, and a caution is out, and it is Kirk Hapke. The number 5 is stuck up against the outside fence in turn number 4. And he had a little bit of contact. The number 13 going to be involved in this one. That is Madison Casey, who is running a lap down, and it looked like Hapke It looked like the 5 may have been the one that initiated the contact. When you really look at it, you're getting a second look there. The 13, Randy, looked a little bit sideways, so his back end might have been slotted around a little bit to the outside, but nonetheless, the 5 just trying to get around him because the 13 a lap truck, he didn't want to waste much time, and a little bit of contact leads to a pretty hard hit for the 13.
It's kind of an interesting little incident there, because the other thing is that the 13 really should have been about a truck with more down to the inside to really have that lane. We know that kind of middle groove there isn't really fast. You generally either want to be up down on the inside or up on the outside, and really just kind of an interesting place to really position yourself. I almost wonder maybe he just kind of got tunnel vision watching the 5 in his mirror and really listening for him, wasn't really paying attention, and then just caught a bit of truck just got tight on him going into 3 and just couldn't get it down there.
So we slow things down. We were able to cross the halfway point that time, and all your leaders going to be coming down pit road once again, and a big gap for Martin Porter as they come down for service. I think based on what we've seen tonight, I expect none the less than 4 tires and fuel again.
Oh yeah, this is easily 4 tires and fuel. You're starting to get within, you're within 30 laps at this point. It's probably gonna be 27, 26 or so to go here once we get this restart. I'm sure Michael Atkins Jr. here very, very happy that this caution came out when it did. Just after he hit that wall, I would not be surprised to see him take some repairs here, even if it means he gets shuffled down the order.
The 8 a little bit skewed into pit road, and Martin Porter's got to sit in the box. Did he get dinged with the penalty? He'll lose the race lead.
Yeah, Porter's sitting there, and Michael Atkins Jr. as well, and absolutely, if that's what happened to him, that'd be an absolutely terrible mistake for him. He had this race, really just based on the pace of everybody else. It was just going to be between him and Michael Atkins Jr., and with Michael having damage, might have been his race to lose, and, well, he might have just lost it.
So Porter P1, Atkins P2, both of them are going to lose the race lead under the caution flag, and I think it's going to go to the number 6 of Brandon H. Thomas, who started this race in 7th. He'll bring us into the final 30 laps of competition here tonight at the Texas Motor Speedway, and all of that, just not making mistakes, puts him in a position to win this one.
Yeah, and really that's sometimes just all it takes, just keeping your truck clean, just, not making any huge mistakes in terms of strategy, and just, unfortunately for a lot of other people, that's just been, what they've been doing. We've just seen a lot of kind of solo mistakes take people out of this one.
As always, a couple of wave-bys. Stay out in front of Thomas, in front of the field. Ryan Hill going to go from 1 lap down back to the lead lap with the incoming wave around. The exact same scenario for Gary Champion, who we saw also take a free pass under the last and most recent caution flag. He'll do it again this time around. And the 17 to Chadwick Smith, you've seen him running around with the damaged car, just try to get that truck around the racetrack and try to get whatever points he can out of the night. Is going from 30 to 29 laps down. He will also be waved around the field. So we get to the final 30 laps. You look at the look at the fuel numbers. You look at the tires, and you have to think that if anybody's hanging back and they're saving anything, I think they've reached the point where it's go time by now.
Yeah, this is the time you really have to nail this restart. Phil Gary running in 3rd place right now. He needs to absolutely take advantage of that inside 3rd place position. Really throw that truck on the inside of Shane Good going down to turn number 1. I'm going to try to get that position away from him. 30 laps to go. Potentially just a single green flag run here, but I would not be surprised if we get another caution as actually the lights go out on the pace cars. We'll be going green next time by. This is the time where you stop waiting and you got to start running.
So we do it, the 6 on the inside, the 11 on the outside. Phil Gary to the inside of row 2, the number 9 Matthew Bittekoffer to the outside of row 2 P4, and Matt Egan in 5th position. Out of all of those, and when we did lose the top 2 in the running order, Randy, they sound rather familiar, like we've been talking about them all night long. Well, outside of Brandon Thomas, who started 7th, Good, Gary, Bittekoffer, and Egan started 11th, 20th, 15th, and 19th, respectively. And that's not even to mention behind these guys in 8th position, a name that we haven't talked much about tonight. How about Gord Monroe? Started 26th. He's in P8 right now. Biggest mover on the night.
Yeah, he actually started in the last truck to roll off here. So very, very well done by Gord to get himself up inside the top 10. Really when it matters in this race with his final 30 laps to go.
The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down to pit road, and could it be for the final time tonight? Brandon Thomas hits his field coming out of turn number 4. Green flag back in the air.
And he was not nearly as aggressive on this restart, but again here, we see this third-place runner not be overly aggressive, but somebody's doing a little bit of Bob and Weaver right now. Matthew Bitterkoffer on the run down into turn 1. He's gotten himself around Ryan Keith. They're fighting hard as they go through 1 and 2.
And it is nose to tail for the race lead, something we haven't seen a bunch of tonight. The 6 got a good jump. The 11, he's just kept the foot down, and he's drafted him all the way to turn number 3 and all the way down through the center of 3 and 4 and off the quarter. But the 6 of Thomas, you get the bonus points. He locked up under the yellow flag, and he leads this time by as 58 laps now go behind us. The 11 continues to stay there, trying to find out what to move, and big problems behind.
Yeah, we got a truck upside down, I think, in the quad. Actually, no, I think he was just head first up against the wall at one point, but he was looking to flip over. Not quite sure what happened, though, in this incident.
We'll take a second look on a Race Spot TV replay. I know that it's a familiar sight because 3 wide coming out of turn 4, and they ran out of room. Again, if this is a Las Vegas, if this is a Kansas, a Kentucky, a Chicago, I think these accidents that we saw would not have happened. But because it's that quad oval, you do have 2 distinct turns. Everybody loses kind of their positioning when you go through those dog legs. And in that first kink coming to the start-finish line, they all moved up a little bit too high. And it looked like Jeffrey Strode, at no fault of his own, I will say, it looked like he just kind of squished Braden Graham out of room. And the 4 is the one that almost ended up wrong side up. He went hard into the outside fence there.
Yeah, Jeffrey obviously had a bit of, a bunch of damage before that. I think he was just, very, very slow aerodynamically on the front straight. Really, that 8 car and the 20 of Brendan Graham, they both just tried to split him, and unfortunately for them, they just kind of ran out of room, and 4 got put up in the wall because of it. Really unfortunate.
So we go back under the caution flag, and we take a look back live after the look at that accident. So we're starting to see some trends. We've seen a couple of accidents coming off of the corners, guys getting loose, guys getting out of shape, but that is now the second accident to happen in rather similar circumstances. Last one didn't actually lead to a caution. Both the trucks spun off of the racing surface, but this time a heavy contact to the outside wall. And Braden Thomas might appreciate that because he'll get a second chance at trying to break out in front for a restart. We pace around the Great American Speedway. We'll take a very quick opportunity to step aside and take a word from some of our partners. You're watching iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on Race Spot TV. Back in a moment.
On the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Welcome back live to the Texas Motor Speedway as we get set for a restart late in this presentation of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on Race Spot TV. Tune in for some NASCAR iRacing Class B action tonight from the Great American Speedway, and Brandon H. Thomas is your leader at lap number 63 of 84, fast approaching the final home run stint to the end of this one. Shane Good going to be P2, Phil Gary, Matthew Bittekoffer, and Matt Egan, your top 5 runners at the moment. Top side with you, myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Randy Janet, Hugo Louise downstairs, and we're happy to have you with us. Here we go, doubling them up. The lights are off on top of the pace car. Could this be the last time we see a restart on the night?
Very easily could be here as we get ready to roll off in these trucks here with 21 laps to go, but as aggressive as these guys have been, getting ready to go 20 to go here, I really think we're going to see at least one more yellow.
Pace car going to duck off to the inside, and we will see. Thomas got a good jump on the last one, but he wasn't able to get that far away. We'll see what he can do this time.
Oh, and there it goes.
Contact behind. Good's going to get turned from P2 and carnage before the line.
That was an absolutely huge incident there. Some people just, Brandon Thomas didn't go nearly as early as he maybe could have. A lot of people tried to jump that start there and saw a huge according effect, and because of that, saw that 11 truck get turned around. We saw quite a few trucks running up in the top 3, top 4 get caught up in that incident.
Little bit of wheel spin, that's all it takes. The number 9, and I think a couple of things there. Maybe it wasn't even wheel spin. It looked like he got hit in the back by the 26, because to be fair, and the way it works in the sim as opposed to maybe on the railroad side of things where you're restricted to the restart box alone, here you can go from the moment that pace car ducks off of the racetrack to the exit of the restart box. So there's a fairly wide window, Randy, for the leaders to control, and I think for the most of the night, guys have been going right away off the corner. Well, Thomas held him back a little bit, knowing that it really didn't work for him last time, and so he tries to mix it up, waits a little bit longer, so a little bit of an accordion effect, and I think the 26 is really the one that turned the 9 car around.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. That 9 car got kind of caught up, and actually, yeah, I think you're right. I think it was that 26 who's the real main kind of offender here. The 9 kind of closed up a little bit, but that 26, he basically decided, hey, I'm going to just put my foot in it now, and I'm just going to go. Really got that 9 car loose and really caught the 11 car. Just, an unfortunate mental mistake and just kind of a lack of patience.
So the field going to wait for the pace car to catch up, and we'll go from talking about inside of 30 to go to now inside of 20 laps to go from the Lone Star State of Texas. We hope you're enjoying tonight's coverage of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night. You could tune in for the upcoming iRacing NASCAR Race Night schedule on the iRacing Live portal, and we hope that we see you coming up still in a couple of weeks' time, but we return with the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series on Tuesday, June the 28th for round number 9 from the Chicagoland Speedway. Coverage going to begin at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Race Spot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live, Fans Choice TV, and the Motor Racing Network. Again, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series returns to Race Spot TV. That comes up on Tuesday, June the 28th. They're going to catch up to the pace car coming out of turns number 3 and 4. Do we see these guys pit anymore? We saw the short intervals in between yellows into which they used pit service for earlier. At what point does track position become more important? The 6 is going to stay out, and Phil Gary gives up P2 for tires.
Well, Phil Gary, I don't think really has much of a choice here. Obviously we saw him both get hit from the back and get into the 11 car on that right front side. I think he has to just be here to repair damage. Everyone else, absolutely no reason to stop, though.
And now, at this point, if you stay out, you're not going to come in, I don't think, with 15 laps to go, if you're not coming in with 20 laps to go. I think as long as, and for Brandon Thomas, the leader's a tricky spot. I think really Bittekoffer, Atkins Jr. and company kind of dictate his fate, because, we saw Gary come down pit road. If the guys behind him, 3rd and 4th, pitted, your leader would be done, because everybody else would have pit. That's the thing. When you're out in front, you stay out, everybody else pits. You pit, everybody else stays out. I think that he's got enough guys around him, and maybe it's not for a good reason, Randy, but I think Bittekoffer and the rest of the guys, I think they can beat this number 6 truck, so they feel like if they can stay on an even playing field with him, that they can just get at him.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Obviously, I think basically everyone came down on that last yellow. And really, they only ran the distance of the front straightaway here on this restart, so no one's tire is really going to be hurt at all, and the main thing is just going to be damage. I think here for the rest of this race, I don't think there's any real reason to come down pit road. You know, we're going to be probably 12 to 13 laps to go, and if we get another yellow, that's only going to be, you know, that's going to take 4 or 5 laps off of that. I think from this point, you just stay out the rest of your race, and hopefully you can get yourself to the front. Unless you're in the back. You might pit if you're in the back.
Yeah. Well, we got 15 trucks on the lead lap. The 26 is actually in that number 15 spot, so that's Matt Egan. Talked about he was involved in that accident. Gary Champion back there, Ryan Keese, and then you'll find Phil Gary. So 12th position outside row 6. Is that too far back?
I don't think so. I think if you're 12th, 13th, you might consider it if we get a decent run here. If we run 5 to 6 laps and you're still at the very, you know, the tail end of this field, maybe you have damage, maybe you don't, then you come down and you get those new tires. So I mean, it just kind of depends on how it goes. If we only run a couple laps here, I'd say you need to just stay out. If we run 5 to 6, maybe we get ourselves just a 1 to 2 lap shootout. Maybe those guys' tires will get old enough that you'll be able to just put that truck up on the outside on those new tires and just slingshot around everybody.
We're going to see it, and again, it's kind of hard for these guys because they come into these races, and you get a little bit of a game plan, and again, 84 laps, you don't have to really overthink the strategy, I think is a fair statement to say, but at the same time, late in these races, and you know, you can use an example we saw over the weekend in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. The cautions are going to dictate the fuel strategy, which dictates the tire strategy, which in some cases is going to dictate who goes to victory lane. You got to find yourself in the right spot, and then when you get into that position, you have to take advantage of it. So Brandon Thomas, you know, we didn't talk about him, I'd say, fair enough to mention in the opening half of this race, but he's in the spot now. He's had a good truck, top 10 truck all night long. He just needs to be able to capitalize on it, and I think not make a mistake. Mistakes have been aplenty for your leaders, especially at a turn number 2. He doesn't want to add his name to that list.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned that, and you know, just looking at the trucks behind him, he's the only truck in the top 3 that has completely straight body panels, and there's a couple more in the top 5 that are bent up a bit as well. So that shows he's been relatively clean. He's not been the fastest guy by any means. In fact, his fastest lap, and really a lot of the other people that are still running, their fastest laps have been 4 or 5 tenths off the fastest laps that 4 or 5 tenths off of the quickest lap of the race. So these guys haven't gotten there on speed. They've gotten here on smarts, and they've gotten here on strategy.
Could this be the final time the pace car is going to knock down and away? We will be left with still 16 laps to go from Texas and off right away. Green flag back in the air, and Brandon Thomas, he'll bring us back to the green flag as Bittekoffer tries to block the inside and maintain P2 to turn number 1.
I think coming on this restart here, everyone was really nervous about what Brandon was going to be doing on this restart, and because of that, Brandon went really, really early, and everyone hesitated. And look at this, down this back straightaway.
Oh,
he has an absolute contact on the
go.
back straightaway. That was very, very aggressive racing there for third.
We knew that he had to make the truck wide, and the number 3, Bittekoffer, did the same thing in turns 1 and 2, and you know, the number 10 machine down the back straightaway. He's not happy on the radio. You can understand why. You go 69 laps into a race and you don't finish. And I think he probably wasn't all that happy with the bump from the number 8, I think, down the back stretch. Right in turn 2, you can see the 8 gets the nose to the left rear. It gets the Print Shop Chevrolet out of shape, Randy, but I think it wasn't like the car snapped down and then snapped back up. I think he recovered. He saw the truck that just hit him start to pass him, tried to block, and I just saw the 10 turn across his nose.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Atkins there, I mean, if he's irritated there after that, I think that's 100% on him. He drove up a full lane in front of the truck that was really getting ready to make a move and had a big run on him. And really, if you're going to make a move like that, if you're going to be really, really aggressive with the way you block, that's the risk you sometimes have to take. He made his bed, now he's got to lay in it.
Nonetheless, a frustrating situation, and 2 trucks also going to get into each other as they tried to get around the number 10 Chevrolet. He was stopped in the middle of turn number 3 of the 27 of Jesse Ouija, and then as well, it looks like Chadwick Smith in the 17 truck. Both got together down on the apron, but you saw a great on-view perspective or on-board perspective from behind the wheel of Martin Porter's entry. He hit him. And again, when you hit somebody, they're not going to be happy about it. So he had to have known that there was going to be a little bit of retaliation, or at least a little bit of hard driving coming back his way from Atkins. But the 10 tried to throw the block, tried to slow down the speed on the outside, and it just did not work out in his favor. More pit service this time. It all comes from drivers outside of the top 9. So the top 9 trucks still stay out on the racetrack at lap number 71.
Yeah, and I mean, really, that's exactly what they need to do. Right now, they've run, like, basically a full lap on these tires through 2 restarts now, and no real reason to come down pit road. We should be, I think, roughly 10 to go here on this final restart, and at that point, I think pit stops should be completely done.
So service continues for the trucks at the back of the pack. I've seen this on the last, the last 2-3 cautions while your leaders have stayed out, but I think it's rather commonplace all night long. If you're in the back 5, come down pit road, get some tires. It's not going to hurt you. Again, the benefit of the sim, you don't have any limits on how many sets of tires or how many Goodyear Wranglers are waiting down there in your pit stall for you. So they come down, get them as often as possible. And who knows, this restart going to be right on the brink of 10 laps to go. You might not be able to make up enough speed to come all the way from the back to win this thing. But if you were in 9th position, you're the first driver to come and get 4 tires, you get 2 spots out of it. It's a win-win, I think, for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it really is if you're running back in last place, and, you know, if you can pick yourself a couple spots, you know, that's really all you're going to do anyways, because there's no way you're going to pick up any track position. I think any of these guys in the top 5, there's no way they're coming down, and really for the most of the people, even in the back, there's no way they're coming down either. So, I mean, if you are in the back, hey, might as well come down, get that new rubber, but at this point, you know, if we get another yellow flag, I think it's probably going to end the race. So at this point, pit strategy is basically all said and done.
We look for the lights to go off this time around. If they do, it is going to be an 11 lap to go restart. Still gives us the opportunity to have another caution flag. Any caution flag inside of the final 5 laps of this contest are going to end this race at that point. Not going to have an opportunity to go back green, and this race ends at lap number 84, no overtime. So at that point, if you're that 6th of Brandon Thomas, you know that you just got to stay in front from 5 to go on through to the checkered flag. And the guys behind him equally know, as this time by, the lights do go out. So we'll go at it with 11 laps to go. They know that they can't just sit on his bumper at 5 to go, 4 to go, 3 to go, and then decide to make a move in the last 2 laps. They know that they have to get around him as soon as possible because, A, if a caution comes out, we do have a restart, you want to have that preferred position or the best position you can. And then also on that, for option B, as I mentioned, this race could end at any moment. You cannot sit around and set them up for the move. We always talk about how it's one thing to catch somebody, it's another thing to pass somebody because you got to set them up and put them down. I don't think you really have time to set anything up. You just got to go for it.
Yeah, at this point, coming to this restart, I really think Brandon Thomas is the one with the big advantage here, simply because he has a huge mental advantage over the rest of the field. We obviously saw basically everyone on these restarts, when they were rolling off from the lead, they went basically right when that pace car turned in. However, we saw Brandon Thomas, that first time he had the lead, what did he do? He hesitated, and there was an absolute catastrophe on the restart. Then the next time he went straight away, so no one knows what Brandon Thomas is going to do. He's capable of just about anything. People are going to be very, very hesitant on this restart, which they can't beat.
Here we go. Pace car going to get down and out of the way for Brandon Thomas. Green flag at Texas. 11 laps to go. The Ada Porter, he'll be able to slot in line P2. And Kenneth Santiago going to be 3rd as they race to turn 1 and get up to the gears.
Martin Porter again doing a very, very good job to get himself down to the inside, running very close to the back of Brandon Thomas here through 1 and 2. He's actually going to look to the inside. He has himself a run going down into turn number 3. He might be able to just get this position. You're going to be able to see here, is Brandon Thomas able to fight on the outside? No. He's going to slot back down into the inside through 3 and 4.
Battle's going to be abundant behind your leader. They're single file up for a brief second. What can the 6 do? He's going to modify his line at 10 laps to go. Peeks to the inside. He'll go high to turn number 1 to sweep to the bottom of the racetrack, but Porter and the number 6 machine is pulling away out in front.
Yeah, he's looking really, really strong right now on Brandon Thomas. He's got to figure something out to try to reel him back in. Maybe Thomas just taking a little bit of care of these tires. Maybe he wants these tires to be stronger in the last 3-4 laps of this race rather than the first 3 or 4 of this final 10. He's under attack, though, right now from the 14 of Kenneth Santiago. Kenneth looking all over the back of Brandon here going into 1. Going to actually look to the outside just a little bit, trying to get a little bit of that clean air. Will Kenneth be able to get a run off of turn number 2? The answer is no.
The 14 knows as well. He can't sit around and fight for second. If he wants to get to the race lead, he's got to go now. Looks to the outside. Can't do it. The 6, without a doubt, has that preferred lane down on the white line in the center at 3 and 4. That gap remains at half a truck length.
Yeah, Brandon Thomas right now doing a very, very good job to really defend, and Kenneth Santiago being very aggressive, and someone else who I think is being really smart as Matt Moldick is actually just sitting right behind Kenneth Santiago. He knows there's no point just yet in being overly aggressive for him. He sees Kenneth Santiago thinking about making moves. He's just sitting there waiting, going to let those two maybe make an incident for themselves and just pick up the 2 easy positions.
They continue a drag race for P2. All of this is just allowing Martin Porter to pull away. He's almost at the go or go home position. Going to be with 6 laps to go in the next time around, and he is running away. Half a second advantage. Thomas still P2, and again, he's got no reason to pull over and allow Santiago by. Matt Moldzik going to join the party at number 22 in P4. Fixing to have a good fight. Going to be on for 3rd as the 14 gets out of shape.
Yeah, 14 got really, really loose there through 3 and 4, and actually that 3 behind the 14 got a good run as well. Might make something of it. The 22 gets by. That's absolutely fantastic for him, and that just basically just what I said. He's going to let those trucks in front of him make mistakes. And actually, the 3 car gets really, really loose through 1 and 2. He loses himself a spot.
14 down off the fence, just as on the inside of the racetrack with the big run of steam came up Phil Gary from 1 lap down, not even for position, but they got awfully close, and again it looked like it was just a matter of time until somebody got up to the back bumper of Brandon Thomas. All the excitement for 3rd has kind of allowed him to stay in P2, and he's holding his own, but he's not gaining anything on Porter. It's still 5/10.
Yeah, it really is, and inside, and actually that last time by, he brought it in about 0.08 of a second. We're inside 5 to go. I'm actually curious if Brandon Thomas maybe just tried to take a little bit better care of those tires through the first laps of this restart, although it looks like that gap is now stretched out as they come off at turn number 4. Let's see what it is at the line. It goes from half a second to actually Brandon Thomas again brings it in just a little bit more.
All he needs is a little bit lap by lap, and if only Thomas was bringing in the gap that Moldzik is doing behind him to Porter, he might have a shot, but the window of opportunity begins to narrow. We'll take lap number 82. This time by, gonna have 3 laps left to go at Texas, and the 8 car can taste it.
Yeah, it really is, and right now it's all pressure on Martin Porter right here, and even though Brandon Thomas, even though he's not very close, he's still applying good amounts of pressure to that number 8 car of Martin Porter. Martin has to be absolutely perfect here. We've seen cars all race long slip up, make mistakes, and take themselves out of contention. This is the time where Martin Porter can't afford a mistake.
So on the inside of the racetrack is the obvious position you want to be in, but I think they've worn off the fresh tires enough again. They're on fairly old tires to this point in the race as we take the popsicle sticks and 2 laps to go, that you're not really able to push that truck much more than what you've already been doing. And I think the top 3 might be in a stalemate at this point. Penultimate time at a turn 2.
A very, very good run here. Martin Porter's done an absolutely fantastic job to get himself this lead and absolutely drive away from Brandon Thomas. I think Brandon may have made up a little bit of ground this lap, but not nearly enough at this point. If Brandon wants to win this race, it's going to come down to Martin making a big mistake.
White flag is in the air. He's just got to bring her home in one piece. The battle for 2nd and 3rd, non-existent at this point. The caution flag is not going to end this one. We race it out to the checkered flag. One final piece of lap traffic outside of the racetrack, and Chadwick Smith is not going to be in a spot to be a factor. Final time at a turn number 4. Martin Porter going to come off the final quarter. Checkered flag, the win at Texas. Porter gets the job done.
Absolutely fantastic driving for him. One of the only guys we saw not make too many big mistakes here all race long, and look how it pays off. Gets himself a win. Job well done.
P2 for Thomas. Moltzik comes home 3rd. Bidikofer 4th. And Brandon Griffiths going to walk home inside of the top 5. Let's take a look at RaceSpot TV full race results from tonight's iRacing Class C Truck Series event from Texas. Those were the top 5 finishers, 3 of which started up at the front of the field. So the higher finishers and the better qualifiers able to wrap this one up when it's all said and done. Ryan Hill comes home behind him in the number 6 spot. Kenneth Santiago going to have to walk away with the P7. Braden Graham, best finishing position all night, gets a P8 out of it. From the back to the front, Gordon Munro, biggest mover on the night, gets a P9. And your pole sitter, Kirk Hapke, is going to have to settle with a 10th place result.
Gary Champion, another guy, moved his way up through the field very, very well. From 27th up to 11th, comes home in, like I said, 11th. Then coming home in 12th, Ryan Keith, someone who looked strong in the very, very early runnings. Unfortunately for him, damage kind of took him out of it. And then finishing home in 13th is Christopher Gormand. And then really that's the end of the truck that finished on the lead lap. 14th and 15th, we have Phil Gary and Matt Egan, and then from there we have the trucks. You got the really, really heavy damage. Shane Good in the 16th, Jeffrey Schrad in 17th, Michael Atkins in 18th, Jesse Wuji 19th, and Madison Casey rounding out your top 20.
And then around at the field tonight, 21st position, going to go home with Chadwick Smith, Ryan Oats 22nd, Mike Miller 23rd, with Danny McCune Jr. 24th. Again, a lot of those names were up front and battling for the win earlier on in this one. Matthew Romagano going to come home 25th, with Clinton Sharp 26th, and Brett Punkari going to round out your 27-car field. He does not take the green flag at the start of this one. So 26 trucks started, and Martin Porter gets the job done. He burns it down on the front straightaway for the Texas Motor Speedway. We'll step away for a brief moment, come back, and cap the night off. You watch it iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on RaceSpot TV. Welcome back live to the Texas Motor Speedway as RaceSpot TV's continuing coverage of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night comes to a close tonight for the Great American Speedway. An exciting race for NASCAR iRacing Class C action sees Martin Porter walk away in victory lane tonight for the Lone Star State of Texas. Evan Persoca, Randy Cheneth, and Hugo Luis still along with you. A decent race, Randy. We saw very exciting points. We saw 3 wide, even 4 wide at times, and a very climatic finish there where Martin Porter looked like he wasn't going to be able to get the job done. We had a couple of restarts late where we thought that it looked like Brandon Thomas had the fort held down, and on the last one he came up a little bit short. The 8 truck is in victory lane tonight.
Yeah, it was actually a really exciting event seeing people work that outside line. Actually, that outside line looked like it might have been the better way around the track. But like you said, Martin Porter, job well done getting himself the win. And, you know, talking about these sorts of longer races, you don't have to just be fast here to really be efficient. The people that we saw leading early, Kirk Hapke, Ryan Keith, you know, as well as, a couple other guys, they finished laps down with all sorts of damage. These guys that finished towards the front, a lot of them started outside of the top 10 and really didn't run very well really all race long until we got to the finish.
We hope to see you the next time iRacing's NASCAR Race Night comes to Race Spot TV. You can keep it live at the iRacing Live portal for more information. Also, want to let you know the Race Spot TV Primetime returns in a few weeks, where you, those who love the sim racing, get to choose which iRacing series we broadcast 2 nights a week. To find out more and to vote for your favorite series now, visit racespot.tv/primetime. We also hope to see you in a couple of weeks' time on Tuesday, June the 28th from the Chicagoland Speedway for the return of the NASCAR Peak Anniversary Series to Race Spot TV with pre-race coverage at 8:30 Eastern. Until then and until next time, that does it tonight from the Texas Motor Speedway. On behalf of everybody at Race Spot TV and for the crew tonight, on behalf of myself, Evan Pasoko, for Andy Cheneth, and our director, Hugo Louise, want to thank you so much for tuning in. Congratulations to Martin Porter. He wins at the Great American Speedway. We bid you good night from Texas, and we will see you next time right here on Race Spot TV.